At one point, they were sharing a single underground room with 12 other people. Brazilians, Romanians, Nigerians, Pakistanis, different languages, different paths, but the same fear living inside their chests. 35 pounds a night, no windows, no proper heating, only thin walls, damp air, and the constant vibration of overground trains passing every 15 minutes. London did not feel like opportunity. It felt like punishment. The cold was not just uncomfortable, it was humiliating. It crept into the bones, into the joints, into the mind. At night, the bathroom was always occupied. People queued silently, wrapped in coats, waiting their turn like ghosts. And sometimes, late into the night, you could hear someone crying in the next room. Not loudly, not dramatically, just the quiet sound of someone realizing they had gone too far to turn back. Lucas and Fernanda arrived in the United Kingdom with hope, fear, and very little money. They had sold the motorbike back in Brazil. They had given up their rented flat. They had said goodbye to family with forced smiles and brave words. Every bridge behind them was burned. There was no plan B, no emergency return ticket, no family member who could send money. If they failed here, they would fail in silence. On their 7th day on British soil, Lucas checked his phone banking app. 680 pounds. That was all they had left. Rent was due, food was running out, transport costs were draining them faster than expected. Fernanda panicked, not because of hunger, not because of discomfort, but because returning home now would mean facing everyone who had believed in them, and worse, everyone who had doubted them. In that damp basement, listening to trains roar past like reminders of time running out, Lucas understood something brutal. England does not rescue anyone. It observes, it tests, it waits. That same week, they met Rogério, a Brazilian man in his early 50s. Quiet, careful with words, he had been in London for years. He told them he could help. He knew someone, a middleman, someone who arranged cleaning work for immigrants without papers, cash payments, no questions asked. What Lucas and Fernanda didn't know yet was that this was not help. It was a system, a shadow economy built on desperation, an invisible machine that feeds on immigrants who have no alternatives. The next morning at 4 a.m., they were picked up. A white van, no company logo, no identification. 15 immigrants squeezed inside. Nobody spoke during the journey. No music, no conversation. Only tired eyes staring at nothing as the van circled the M25 in the darkness. Their first job was a 4-story Victorian mansion in Kensington, owned by billionaires who visited maybe 1 month a year. From the outside, it looked like luxury. Inside, it was neglect. They worked 13 hours without proper breaks. Frozen rooms, marble bathrooms layered with grime, a professional kitchen filled with months-old rotting food, Persian carpets stained beyond imagination. The heating system was broken, the house felt like a freezer, their hands burned from industrial chemicals. They had no gloves, no masks, no right to complain. Mistakes were punished with shouting, slowness with humiliation. At 9 o'clock that night, exhausted beyond words, they were paid 45 pounds for both of them, together. Fernanda cried quietly on the drive back. Lucas punched the metal wall of the van until his knuckles hurt. Rogerio lit a cigarette and said something casually as if it meant nothing. "Stop being an employee." That sentence echoed in Lucas's head for days. Because deep down, he knew the truth. If they stayed invisible, they would be exploited forever. If they stayed silent, nothing would change. Cleaning houses was not the problem. Being trapped was. That night, they lay awake in the basement, listening to strangers breathe, to trains passing by, to their own thoughts racing. They talked about Brazil, about how hard they had worked there, about how no matter how much effort they made, progress always felt out of reach. Low wages, rising prices, dreams postponed again and again. They talked about dignity, about not wanting luxury but stability, about wanting control over their lives. And slowly, something shifted. Not their situation, but their thinking. Lucas realized something important. They didn't need sympathy. They needed access. They didn't need permission. They needed visibility. The question was simple. How do you find clients in a city where you don't officially exist? The answer came from Fernanda, from her phone, from her eye. She noticed something while cleaning those enormous houses. The transformation, before and after, chaos into order, neglect into shine. She said, "What if people could see this?" That same week, sitting on the edge of the bed in that overcrowded basement, Fernanda created an Instagram account, Brazilian Shine Cleaning London. At first, it felt ridiculous. Who would trust two immigrants with broken English? Who would hire people who didn't even have a company yet? But Fernanda posted anyway. Before and after photos, simple captions, honest work. But Fernanda had something rare. She told stories with images. Each photo wasn't just cleaning, it was transformation. In 2 weeks, 400 followers. In 1 month, over 2,500. And slowly, messages began to arrive. At first, small jobs, then bigger ones. Then something unexpected happened. A British woman named Charlotte sent a message. She owned 3 artisanal cafes in Camden Town. She needed nightly cleaning, 6 days a week, £120 per location. Lucas and Fernandez stared at the message in disbelief. That was more money in a week than they used to earn in months back home. For the first time since arriving in the UK, hope felt real. But reality returned quickly. To secure the contract, they needed professional equipment, health and safety approved. The cost was £2,500. They checked their balance, 450 left. And once again, Rogerio appeared, offering money, but at a cost, 35% interest per month. Fernanda begged Lucas not to accept. She had seen people destroyed by these loans, trapped, working only to pay interest, never moving forward. Lucas hesitated. He knew it was dangerous, but he also knew opportunity rarely knocks twice. And in that moment, standing between fear and risk, he chose risk. That decision would almost destroy them, and it would also change everything.
After accepting the loan, nothing felt celebratory. There was no excitement, only pressure. Lucas and Fernanda knew they had stepped into dangerous territory. The money was not help. It was a clock. ticking loudly in the background of every decision they made. They bought the equipment: industrial vacuum cleaners, certified chemicals, protective gloves, uniforms, everything required to meet British health and safety standards. On paper, they now looked professional. In reality, they were terrified. The first week cleaning Charlotte's cafes was brutal. Night shifts, after customers left, floors covered in grease, bathrooms destroyed after long days of service, tables sticky with sugar and alcohol, bins overflowing. They finished at 2 or 3 in the morning, then went home, slept a few hours, and started again. But the money came, on time, every week. For the first time since arriving in the UK, they could breathe. They paid Rogerio. They paid rent. They bought food without counting every coin. Instagram continued to grow. Word spread quietly. One cafe owner spoke to another, then another. Soon, they had private houses, apartments, short-term rentals, professional offices. By the 4th month, they had 18 regular clients. Not all glamorous, not all easy, but consistent. They worked 7 days a week, no weekends, no holidays, no excuses. Every spare moment was used to learn. Lucas watched videos about small businesses in the UK, how taxes worked, how invoices worked, what mistakes to avoid. Fernanda focused on branding. She studied how photos attracted trust, how captions created credibility, how consistency created authority. They were still exhausted, still afraid, still one problem away from collapse, but something had changed. They were no longer completely powerless. Then the pressure increased. Interest, 35% every month. The numbers stopped making sense. No matter how much they earned, the debt refused to shrink. It swallowed progress. It suffocated momentum. By the 8th month, cracks appeared. Clients canceled. Costs rose. Equipment broke. Unexpected expenses appeared without warning. One delayed payment created a chain reaction. Another delay followed, then another. They tried to stay calm. They told themselves it was temporary, but deep down, fear returned. On February 17, 2023, everything collapsed. Payments didn't arrive. Bills piled up. The interest demanded by Rogerio became aggressive. Phone calls, messages, threats hidden behind polite words. For 6 days, Lucas barely slept. For 6 days, Fernanda barely spoke. On the 7th day, Lucas sat on a bench in Regent's Park. The lake was frozen. Ducks moved slowly across the surface. London looked beautiful and completely indifferent. That's when an elderly woman approached, small, slow, wrapped in a long coat. She spoke Portuguese. She said she had seen their Instagram. She asked if they were all right. Lucas didn't lie. He couldn't. He told her everything: the debt, the pressure, the fear, the exhaustion. Her name was Donna Grassa. She arrived in England in 1974. She fled dictatorship. She cleaned houses. She slept in shared rooms. She was exploited. She survived. At 81 years old, she owned 3 properties in Brixton. She listened silently. Then she did something Lucas and Fernanda never expected. She offered them the money. No interest, no deadlines, no paperwork, just trust. One immigrant helping another. That moment did not just save their business, it saved their minds. With that money, they paid off Rogerio completely. No negotiations, no delays. They cut ties with exploitation forever. But Donna Grassa gave them something more valuable than money. She gave them access. She introduced them to her network. Portuguese, Spanish, Brazilian immigrants who had already crossed the hardest part of the journey. Doctors, lawyers, business owners, people who understood the struggle, people who preferred helping their own. In 6 weeks, Lucas and Fernanda gained 32 new clients, all through referrals, all reliable, all respectful. They raised their prices to £18 an hour, the fair London market rate. They focused obsessively on quality, details, trust, consistency. They hired 3 other Brazilians, paid fair wages, treated them with dignity. They created a system, savings first, expenses second, lifestyle last. 45% of everything they earned went straight into savings and UK investment accounts. For the first time, they were no longer reacting, they were planning. They were still tired, still working long hours, still carrying physical exhaustion in their bodies. But the fear had changed. It was no longer fear of survival. It was fear of wasting the opportunity they had fought so hard to create. And slowly, quietly, the numbers began to change.
By the 27th month in the United Kingdom, Lucas and Fernanda had saved just over 120,000 Brazilian reais. For 2 people who once shared a windowless basement with 12 strangers, this number meant more than money. It meant survival had turned into control. They were no longer counting coins before buying food. They were no longer afraid of the rent deadline. They were no longer waking up every morning with the silent anxiety that follows those who live only to survive. Today, Lucas and Fernanda live legally in the UK. Through a sponsor company, they obtained a skilled worker visa. Their cleaning business expanded beyond what they once imagined. They now manage a team of 18 people, all immigrants, all with stories marked by fear, sacrifice, and resilience. They moved into their own flat. They bought reliable equipment. They stopped chasing work and started choosing clients. And for the first time since leaving Brazil, they could plan the future instead of just escaping the past. When asked if it was worth it, Lucas answered honestly, "England does not welcome you with open arms. It tests you in the cold, in loneliness, in rejection. And if you pass the test, it allows you to stay. But the price is high. A piece of your identity is left behind forever. You are never fully Brazilian again, and you will never be completely British either." This was the true story of a Brazilian couple who arrived in the UK with almost nothing and managed to save £120,000 cleaning houses in London. But remember this, for every success story you hear, there are hundreds that ended in silence, in deportation, in surrender, in quiet failure.
the British dream exists, but it demands discipline, emotional endurance, and the ability to survive long periods where nobody sees your progress. If you are watching this and you feel lost, exhausted, or questioning your own journey, understand this. Your struggle is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are still in the process. Before stability comes chaos. Before confidence comes fear. Before freedom comes sacrifice. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to this channel for more real immigrant stories from the UK, and tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today, and which part of the immigrant journey are you in right now?